Hi, good afternoon. Let me give you an example of a constant conversation I frequently have with patients coming into my job. Me, how's your day going today? Patient, my day is going great, but the weather isn't too nice today. Yesterday was really hot, and all of a sudden, it's cold and cloudy today. I just don't understand what's going on with the weather these days. This conversation of the weather being hot and cold is one I have on a weekly basis. The answer to why we have such back and forth chaotic weather would be climate change. Climate change is a defining issue in our time that comes with a critical cost. From chaotic weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that could cause catastrophic flooding, the effects of climate change come at a tremendous cost that threaten not only us, but most importantly, our planet. If we do not take action now to minimize our carbon footprint and implement practices in our everyday lives that will help eliminate climate change, then the end result is, well, the end of the human race and the destruction of our beautiful planet. As scary as that might all sound, luckily, there are ways to help combat the fight on climate change that can help preserve our planet for future generations to come. Although these solutions may seem like they come with a lot of effort from our participation in our everyday lives, these simple changes can help significantly reduce further damage to our planet and end climate change altogether. Today, I will be discussing how climate change is a threat to our beautiful planet and our overall quality of life. Within this time, I will also present solutions that can help us fight this issue. Lastly, I will discuss how these solutions can impact the survival of this beautiful Earth in the long run for future generations to enjoy this beautiful planet and all the amazing things it has to offer. Climate change is now more than ever having tremendous effects on our planet caused by humans' own doing. One way that climate change is affecting us right as we speak is caused by our carbon footprint. A carbon footprint is basically the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions that anything, a person, organization, event, product has produced. Greenhouse gases are the gases in the atmosphere that produce the greenhouse effect and contribute to global warming and climate change. Did you know meat products have bigger carbon footprints per calorie than grains or vegetables? That's because animals like cattle, sheep, goats produce a lot of methane gas. In 2016, they produced 170 million metric tons in CO2 of methane, according to a carbon footprint fact sheet compiled by the Center for Sustainable Systems at the University of Michigan. And yes, that all ends up in our atmosphere. Carbon emissions cause climate change that result in ever-increasing CO2 emissions that trigger global warming, which leads to climate change with devastating weather events. Carbon emissions also contribute to urban air pollution, which results in toxic urban smog hanging over big cities, causing an alarming number of respiratory infections and even cancer. These are just a few ways of a long-running list that carbon emissions affect the planet and humans. It is easy to brush off the problems that come as a result of climate change. However, that is a privilege that we have as humans. It's easy to distract ourselves with our everyday lives that we forget some places are being affected by climate change firsthand right at this very moment. However, places such as Delhi, India, are one of those cities that are being affected right now from climate change. A risk report ranked Delhi the second most vulnerable city to climate change. In fact, 13 of 20 highest risk cities were found to be in India, with Chennai, Agra, and Kanpur ranking in the top 10. Veris Mabelcroft found that pollution was a primary threat to the health of India's urban populations, and particularly Delhi's, noting that toxic air caused almost 1 in 5 deaths in India in 2019, while water pollution was found to cause around 400,000 deaths every year. That's a lot. Humans are the only ones suffering from the result of the global climate change crisis. Many of our beautiful ecosystems are suffering as a result. For example, our beautiful coral reef systems are being impacted through sea level rising, changes to the frequency and intensity of tropical thunderstorms, and altered ocean circulation patterns. When combined, all of these impacts dramatically alter ecosystem functions in the coral reef, as well as the goods and services the coral reef ecosystems provide to people around the globe. Climate change can indirectly cause harm to coral reefs too. Rising temperatures and acidity make it harder for animal inhabitants to weather disease outbreaks, extreme storms, or an influx of microplastic pollution. Most people can probably relate to this, says Emily Hall. She's an environmentalist scientist who studies the effects of ocean acidity on reefs at the Mote Marine Laboratory and Aquarium in Sarasota, Florida. She says, if you're healthy and the flu comes around, you have a better chance of fighting it off. If you're stressed out and not sleeping well, you're more vulnerable, she adds. As you can see, climate change is affecting every aspect of our everyday lives. If climate change is not a top priority within the next few years to come, then chaos can be an end result. An article from Time magazine written by Christiana Figueres gives us a look into how life would be in 2050 if we do not combat climate change. In this article, she says, in 5 to 10 years, vast swaths of the planet will be increasingly inhospitable to humans. We don't know how habitable the regions of Australia, North Africa, and the western United States will be by 2100. No one knows what the future holds for their children and grandchildren. More moisture in the air and higher sea surface temperatures have caused a surge in extreme hurricanes and tropical storms. Coastal cities in Bangladesh, Mexico, the United States, and elsewhere have suffered brutal infrastructure destruction and extreme flooding, killing many thousands and displacing millions. This happens with frequency now. So that's just a little glimpse into our future of how climate change can affect us. The realization of what if can potentially be the future of our planet can be frightening. Luckily, many solutions to be less impactful and end climate change have been proposed. Here are just a few ways you can help fight climate change and save our planet. Eat less meat. This is one I personally have done. I was a vegetarian for 4 years. Eating less meat means you don't use as much methane. Raising cattle and sheep creates vast amounts of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. Cutting out meat or even reducing consumption of favoring fish and chicken can seriously save carbon. Studies at Carnegie Mellon suggest merely swapping red meat and dairy for a more balanced diet with fish and eggs can make a huge difference. Another one, it's as simple as when you go to Trader Joe's, you can get those reusable bags. So just bringing your own shopping bags can even help. Plastic bags are incredibly destructive to the environment. They take hundreds of years to break down, contaminate soil and waterways, and cause widespread marine animal deaths. To combat the problem, cities and states around the country have enacted plastic bag bans or fees on single-use bags. Switch to reusable bags and use them consistently. That's one huge way to help. Another one would be support a carbon tax. A carbon tax is a fee imposed on the burning of carbon-based fuels like coal, oil, and gas. It's a way for users of carbon fuels to pay for the climate damage caused by releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and an incentive that motivates companies to switch to non-carbon fuels and energy efficiency. Although these may seem like very tedious things to help with our planet, it really helps make an impact on climate change. To find even more ways, you can also look online at different ways to help the planet. Our planet is a beautiful place, and it is of utmost importance to preserve our earth for our future children and grandchildren to experience.